Hello Arbab, it's time to boss your money. Quick question. Are you on track to retire with 10 crore rupees? Most people have no idea. They are investing something. Maybe 1000 dirhams here, 2000 dirhams there, but they don't actually know if they're on track or way behind. So today, I'm going to show you exactly where you should be based on your age. Whether you're 25 or 55, by the end of this video, you'll know three things. One, the exact monthly amount you need to hit 10 crore rupees by retirement. 2. Whether that amount is even realistic for your salary in UAE. 3. What do you do if you're behind? Spoiler alert, most people are. And 4. Is 10 crore even enough? And here's what shocked me when I calculated this. The difference between starting at 25 versus starting at 45, it's not just double the monthly amount. It's way worse than that. Now, quick disclaimer, I'm using 8% average annual returns and targeting retirement age at 65. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. I'm just a guy with a spreadsheet and a YouTube channel sharing my thoughts. Even if you're not 25, you need to watch the 25-year-old section. Why? Because it'll show you the exact cost of every year you delay. And trust me, that's the wake-up call that most of us need. All right, let's get into it and let's find out if you're on track or we need to have an uncomfortable conversation. Let me show you why time beats money every single time. I'm going to break down what it actually takes to hit 10 crores, and that's about 4.4 million dirhams and just under $1.2 million by the time you're 65. And before you ask, is 10 crores even enough? We'll get to that. But for now, let's use it as our target because it's a round number, and honestly, if you can hit 10 crores, you're doing better than 90% of people watching this video. Now, here's what most people don't understand about compound interest. When you're young, compound interest does most of the work, and when you're older, you do most of the work. Yeah, let that hit you for a second. Let me explain to you why this table should either excite you or terrify you, or both, probably both. If you're 25, you only need to invest 1.2 million dirhams over 40 years. But here's the magic. Compound interest adds 3.2 million dirhams on top of that. That means 73% of your retirement corpus comes from the money working for you and not you working for the money. You're essentially using 1.2 million dirhams to create that 4.4 million dirhams. That's a 3.7 times multiplier. As Albert Einstein apparently said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it, and he who doesn't, pays it. You, my 25-year-old friend, are about to earn it. If you're 35, you're investing 1.8 million over 30 years. Not too bad. Compound interest adds 2.6 million to that, and 59% comes from growth. But notice you're putting in 50% more money than the 25-year-old did, yet getting the same end result. If you're 45, you're investing 2.64 million over 20 years. Growth adds only 1.76. Now, only 40% comes from compound interest. You're doing most of the heavy lifting yourself. You're investing more than double what the 25-year-old invests for the same outcome. And if you're 55, you're investing 3.2 million dirhams over 10 years. Growth adds just 1.16. That's only 26% that comes from compound interest. You're essentially just saving, not really investing. You're putting in 2.7 times more than the 25-year-old did. And if you think that's depressing, wait till I tell you about the salary you need to pull all of this off. Spoiler alert, it either involves being a VP or having a successful side hustle selling samosas or having a YouTube channel. Here's the punchline that should hit you like a truck. At 25, compound interest does 73% of the work. At 55, you do 74% of the work. That is the difference between letting your money work for you versus working for your money until the day you retire. Warren Buffett once said, "Someone sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. At 25, you're planting trees. At 55, you're desperately trying to buy a forest. And let me tell you, forests are expensive. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, cool. So I need to either invest 2,500 or 5,000 or 11,000 per month. But can I actually afford that? That's exactly what we're covering next. Because the math is one thing. The reality of your salary and expenses, that's where it gets interesting. Okay, so you know your number, but here's what nobody talks about. Can you actually afford to invest that much at your current stage of life? Let's get brutally honest about salaries and expenses. What salary do you need to hit your number? Let me break this down based on a reasonable savings rate. I'm assuming you can dedicate about 25 to 30% of your salary to investments after covering rent, food, transportation, and other basic expenses. Now let's talk real numbers based on what people actually earn in Dubai. According to recent data, entry-level IT positions in Dubai start at around 10,000 per month. Teachers can earn between 9 to 15,000 and digital marketing specialists earn between 8 to 17,000. So if you are a fresh graduate in fields like IT, marketing, teaching or finance, you're probably making somewhere in the range of 8 to 12,000 dirhams a month. Can you invest 2,500? Yes. It's tight, but it's absolutely doable. If you're making 12,000 plus, you're actually in a great position. You can hit 2,500 a month and still have a life. By 35, you've been progressing normally in your career and you should be making about 15 to 22,000 per month. The average professional salary in Dubai right now is around 16,000 per month. Senior roles, specialists or managers could be in the range of 20 to 28,000 per month. Can you invest 5,000? It depends. If you're single or DINK, which is dual income and no kids, yes, it's doable. But if you have kids and you're the sole earner, it gets tight. You'll need to be earning closer to the 20 to 22,000 minimum. By 35, if you're making over 25,000, congratulations, you're above average. And hitting 5,000 per month should be comfortable. Here's where it gets tough. If you need to invest 11,000 dirhams per month at age 45, that requires a salary of 35 to 40,000 minimum. The reality, most people at 45 in Dubai are still making 20 to 25,000 per month. Unless they're in senior management, specialized technical roles, or niche high-paying industries where salaries start at 25,000. And guess what? Senior positions can even reach 160,000 dirhams a month. So can you invest 11,000 dirhams a month? Only if you are in the top 20 to 25% of earners. For most people at 45, hitting this number means either you need to drastically increase your income, job switch, promotions or side hustles, or you need to adjust your retirement goal downwards. Or the third option is you need to work beyond 65. If you're making 45,000 plus at the age of 45, you're doing exceptionally well and this is achievable. If you're 55 and starting from scratch, you need 27,000 dirhams per month. That requires a 75 to 85,000 salary, and let's be honest, only C-suite executives, senior VPs, successful business owners, or ultra specialized consultants make this money. We are talking top 3 to 5% of NRIs in the UAE. Can you invest 27,000 dirhams a month? For 95% of the people watching this video, the answer is an emphatic no. And that's okay. We'll talk about alternatives. If you're making 80,000 plus at 55, first of all, you're probably already financially sorted. Secondly, yes, you can hit 10 crore, but you're basically just parking your money. Compound interest won't do much of the heavy lifting at this stage. But salary is only half the story. Let's talk about what's competing for that money at each stage of your life. Because knowing you should invest 5,000 dirhams and actually doing it are two very different things. If you're 25, it's typically the 4 more years. Your typical monthly expenses might look something like this. Your apartment could cost you 2 to 2,500 a month. Food could cost you anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 a month. Transportation usually could cost you from 400 to 600 a month. Phone and utilities 300 to 400 a month. Entertainment, that could go anywhere from 800 to 1,000 dirhams a month. And miscellaneous things like buying clothes, your gym membership, and so on could cost you anywhere from 500 to 700 a month. That adds up to 5,200 to 6,700 a month. And that leaves you with 3,300 to 4,800 dirhams a month that you could put towards investment. So mathematically, 2,500 is very, very doable. But here is the psychological challenge. Your friends are buying brand new cars and drowning in EMIs, by the way. Everyone's traveling to Bali, Turkey, Europe every few months. Brunch every Friday and clubbing every weekend. The latest iPhone, designer clothes, keeping up appearances. It's never ending. The mentality of telling yourself, I'm 25, I have time to save and invest. The biggest lie you tell yourself, by the way. The social pressure at 25 is insane. I know this. I've been there. You're the weirdo if you say, nah, I'm skipping brunch. I need to invest this month. Your friends might call you cheap, but they're not watching Boss Your Money. They don't know what it's like to retire without any savings left over. They'll say you're not living life. But here's something nobody tells you that I do. Those same friends at 45 will be panicking about retirement while you're comfortably on track. As Morgan Housel writes in The Psychology of Money, spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. Let that sink in. The biggest obstacle at 25 is not money. It's not can you do it. It's discipline and delayed gratification. You can afford it. The question is, will you? 35 is what I call the sandwich generation, and I belong to this club. Let's have a look at typical monthly expenses if you're earning somewhere in the range of 20,000. A 2-bedroom apartment for a family of 3 or 4 can run you anywhere from 6 to 8,000. Food and groceries can cost you 2 to 2,500. Transportation from 1,500 to 2,500. Your utilities, phone and internet can cost you 6 to 800 dirhams a month. Kids' nurseries or school for one child can cost you from 2 to 4,000 dirhams a month. Health insurance, top-ups and dentist appointments can run you 5 to 800 dirhams a month. Entertainment and family outings can cost you 8 to 1,200 a month. Emergencies and miscellaneous expenses can cost you 8 to 1,000 dirhams a month. That adds up to 14,200 to 20,800 every single month. So what do you have available to save? 0 to 5,800 a month. To be investing 5,000 dirhams every single month, not only do you need to be earning that 20,000 dirhams consistently, but also you need to have the discipline to ensure that you stick to the lower end of that budget that I just broke down. The reality at 35 is kids' expenses are just starting. It might be nursery now, but then school fees just keep increasing. You've upgraded from a shared flat to a family apartment. Rent has doubled. Probably bought a car. EMI is now eating into your savings. By the way, if you are considering buying a car, congratulations, but I'll link my previous video on exactly how to go about buying it and also can you actually afford buying a car right now. Sending money back home to parents, that keeps increasing. Weddings, family emergencies, unexpected expenses, they seem to be hitting you from all directions. But at this age, there is more financial maturity than at 25. And dual income households can make this work much easier. The biggest obstacle at 35, competing priorities. Kids' education is non-negotiable. Decent housing is non-negotiable. Everything else is fighting for the remaining 5 to 6,000. Reality check. If you're a single income household at 18 to 20,000 with kids, hitting 5,000 dirhams a month will be very tough. If you're dual income household, combined 35 to 40,000, then it becomes much more achievable. Age 45 is what I call the peak expense years. Typical monthly expense could look something like this if you're making about 35,000 a month. A 3-bedroom apartment costing you 8 to 10,000 a month. Food and groceries can cost you 3 to 3,500 for a family of 4. Transportation costs can run you 1,200 to 1,800 a month. Utilities, phone and internet 800 to 1,000. Kids' school fees can cost you anywhere from 6 to 10,000 dirhams a month, and that's not even factoring all the extra tutoring and kids' activities that are required. That can run you an additional 2 to 3,000 every single month. And I've based this on having 2 kids. Health insurance and other medical expenses can run you from 1,000 dirhams to 1,500. The money you send back home to your parents can run you from 2 to 3,000 dirhams a month. Family vacations can run you from 1,500 to 2,000 dirhams, and you need about 1,000 to 1,500 a month for that emergency buffer. That means your monthly expenses are 26,500 to 37,300 a month. That would mean at the end of the month, you'd be left with nothing. In fact, you might be in the negative, or on the higher side, you might have 8,500 left. But remember, you need to be investing 11,000 every single month to get to that 10 crore retirement figure. Or in other words, you would need a salary of 38 to 42,000 dirhams a month. The reality at 45 is that school fees are brutal. It can cost you anywhere from 30,000 to 50,000 per child per year in decent schools. 2 kids, that's potentially 10,000 dirhams per month or more just for education. Parents back home might need medical care and financial support. Your own health insurance premiums keep increasing. Kids expect family vacations and night outs. Can't say no without guilt. Lifestyle expectations are now set. It's hard to downgrade. But on the flip side, at 45, it's probably going to be your peak earning years. This is going to be where you're going to be earning the most, but also have the most energy to sustain that income. If kids are older, school fees plateau. It's not going to keep increasing. The biggest obstacle at 45 is that you cannot compromise on kids' education. This is non-negotiable for most Indian parents. That 6 to 10,000 per month school fee, that's untouchable. So 11,000 investment has to come from increasing your income, not necessarily from cutting expenses. Here's the reality. If you're making less than 38,000 at 45, you mathematically cannot invest 11,000 dirhams a month and give your kids decent education and maintain reasonable living standards. Something has to give, and we'll cover alternatives soon. 55 is what I like to call the final push. Here's what I think might be typical expenses if you're making 80,000 a month. 2 to 3 bedroom apartment can run you anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000 a month. Food and groceries 2,500 to 3,000 a month. Transportation, that's 1,500 to 2,000 a month. Utilities, we'll keep that at 800 to 1,000 a month. Medical insurance can cost you from 2 to 3,000 a month on a very, very conservative side. Kids, college and university, that can run you 5 to 8,000 a month. Parents, care and support, 2 to 4,000 a month. Lifestyle maintenance, let's call that 2 to 3,000 a month. And that adds up to 23,800 to 36,000. That would leave you 44,000 to 56,000 left over. Remember, you would need to make an investment of 27,000 a month. So this may seem like it's very doable, but remember, I'm calculating it based on a 80,000 dirham salary. Now, what is your age? What do you make? Do you follow your budget? Do you have leftover? What do you have left over? Can you reach these numbers? Only you can answer that for yourself. The reality at 55 is that your kids might be independent, which means finally no more school fees. And this has got to be the highest you've ever earned in your career. Your career is probably stable and you are unlikely to lose your job. Your house, if you have purchased one, might be fully paid off. Hopefully, it's fully paid off by this time. But on the flip side, your health insurance costs are skyrocketing. You have very less time to recover if you are not on track for your retirement goals. And at this stage, you can't be very aggressive with your investments because one market crash could derail everything. Or in other words, your risk tolerance must be way lower. Here's the biggest obstacle at 55. It's not the expenses, but time. You can afford 27,000 if you're making 80,000 or more. But do you have 10 years of runway? What if you lose your job at 58? What if health issues forces early retirement at 62? The reality is, if you're making 80,000 plus at 55, you're in the top tier. You can technically hit 10 crore, but it's essentially just parking your salary. Compound interest barely helps. And most importantly, one wrong move and you're toast. So here's what I want you to take away from this section. The 25-year-old has the easiest math but the hardest psychology. Discipline is your enemy, not money. The 35-year-old has decent math and competing priorities. Family versus future. It's doable but requires trade-offs. The 45-year-old has hard math and peak expenses. You need to either significantly earn more or adjust your goals. The 55-year-old has brutal math because compounding is not on your side. And not to mention limited time. Unless you're in the top 5% of earners, 10 crore isn't realistic, sadly. All right, now let's talk about what to do if you are behind. Because I know half of you are sitting there thinking, great, I'm 42 and I've saved basically nothing. Should I just give up? Absolutely not. That is why you're here watching this video. But you need to get creative. Let's address this head on. Here are your 5 options and I'll show you the exact math for each age group. The first option is to adjust the goal. Lower is better than 0. Let's be honest, 10 crore is aspirational. But what if you targeted 7 crore or 5 crore? These are still life-changing amounts that most people can only dream of. They can still very much give you a comfortable retirement. Here's what you would need for different goal amounts. Now let's talk a little bit about what these smaller amounts actually mean. At 5 crores, assuming a safe withdrawal rate of 6%, would leave you with 11,000 dirhams a month or 2.5 lakh rupees a month. This is more than livable in a tier 2 city like Pune, Kochi, Coimbatore or Jaipur. It's not going to be luxury retirement, but comfortable middle class retirement. You own a home, you can travel once a year, eat out regularly, and so on. More than good enough for most people. If you think you can get to that 7 crore range, that would result in a monthly figure of 15,500 dirhams a month or 3.5 lakhs a month. This is more than comfortable for a tier 1 city except South Mumbai, South Delhi, and so on. You can most definitely travel once or twice a year even. You could support your kids' weddings with a small contribution. You can easily have a happy upper middle class lifestyle at 7 crores. At 10 crores, you're looking at a safe withdrawal of 22,000 dirhams a month or 5 lakh rupees a month. That's more than comfortable in any part of India. You can basically live your dream retirement as long as you make sure you're not spending more than you make. My take is 5 crore worse than 10 crore? Obviously. But is it better than 0? Absolutely. And for most people watching, this 5 to 7 crore is actually more realistic and it still gives you a dignified retirement. If you're 45 and can only invest 5,500 instead of the 11,000, do it. Don't wait around. That's still 5 crore in 20 years. That's still winning. That's still more than most people retire with. Now look, I know nobody wants to work till 70. I get it. But that is the second option. Let's look at the math of working just a few extra years. Look at the 45-year row. By working till 70 instead of 65, you go from needing 11,000 a month to just 7,500 a month. That's a 32% reduction. For the 55-year-old, working till 70 means 15,500 dirhams instead of 27,000. That's a 42% reduction because you're giving that extra 5 years for compounding to work for you. Why does this work so well? Every extra year gives you a double benefit. One more year to contribute money and one more year of compound growth. One less year of withdrawal needed. Working from 65 to 70 isn't ideal, but you're healthier now than previous generations. At 65 to 70, you can probably work part-time, consulting, lower stress roles. It's 5 years of work versus 20 years of broke retirement. Here's my take. If you're over 45 right now and behind on savings, seriously consider 68 to 70 as a retirement age. It's a game changer mathematically. Here's option 3. Where you retire actually matters more than how much you save. Let me show you what 5 crore versus 10 crore actually buys you in different Indian cities. Here's my strategy if you're over 45 but can only save 6 to 7 crores. Don't retire in a city like Mumbai. Consider somewhere like Kochi or Pune. Same lifestyle quality, half the cost. It's called geographic arbitrage. And it's massively underutilized by Indian retirees. Most only think about retiring in their own hometown. Me personally, I'd rather retire with 6 crores in Kochi than stress about hitting 10 crores for Mumbai. Consider such creative ways to reduce your stress. Because at the end of the day, why are we really thinking about retirement? Because it has to be stress-free. We need to put in the work now so that we would be stress-free at a later point. So why not consider something like change in location for your retirement instead of stressing about getting to that 10 crore goal? Option 4 is to increase your income. The harsh truth is that you can't outsave a low income problem. If you're 45 making 22,000 a month and you need to invest 11,000 a month, cutting lattes will not solve this. You need more money coming in. How to increase your income by 8 to 12,000 dirhams a month? Consider searching for new jobs, upskilling, meaning getting more certifications and increasing your ability in order to bring in that extra income. For example, if you have a BCom or an MBA and work in finance, you might consider pursuing an ACCA or a CFA certification so that you can increase your income. Consider freelancing or taking up a part-time job or working on a side hustle. And here's another thing that a lot of people actually don't even do. Negotiate better. A lot of people don't get annual increases. Negotiate for 8 to 10%. Settle for 5 to 7%. That's fine. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get a raise. When you go to ask, justify it with market data, your achievements, what you're capable of, what you have done for the company. If you manage to increase your income by 11,000, then all of a sudden you can put that 11,000 to work as your investment. Problem solved. Here's my take. If you're 40 to 50 years old and behind, income increase is your fastest path to catching up. It's obvious, I know, but two things. One is if your income does go up, lifestyle creep comes in and most people just spend it. Or two, you don't go for that increase. You don't get that new job. You don't go and ask for an increase. You don't take up a side hustle. One big promotion does more than years of frugality. But option 5 to me is the most realistic option, a hybrid approach. For most people, the solution isn't just one thing. It's combining multiple strategies. Let's take an example. If you're 45 years old, currently saving 4,000 a month, but you need 11,000 a month, that gives you a gap of 7,000 a month. Impossible to bridge? Let's see. Lower your goal from 10 crore to 7 crore. It reduces your requirements by 3,000 a month. Now you need only 7,700, of which 4,000 you're already saving. Your side hustle adds 2,000 a month. Now you need only 5,700, of which again you already have 4,000, which means you only need that difference of 1,700. Now, instead of working till 65, working till 68, that saves you that difference of 1,500 required. If you then get creative with where you retire and your plans for retirement, then all of a sudden it becomes really achievable to have a happy and stress-free retirement. See, it's not sexy. It requires trade-offs. I know this, but it is doable and you can do it. So here's a simple hybrid formula. Adjust the goal slightly, extend your timeline slightly, increase your income slightly, reduce your cost of living now and in retirement slightly, and overall they all work together and gives you a successful retirement. My take is that most people need the hybrid approach. Pure discipline alone won't work if the math doesn't math. Get creative. Stack multiple small improvements and they all compound. All right, let's flip this around. Instead of asking how much do I need for 10 crore, let's ask, if I invest 1,000 a month or 3,500 a month or 10,000 every month, where do I end up? Because maybe you don't have a specific crore target. Maybe you just want to know, I can afford to invest X amount. What will I actually get? Here's the complete picture. At 25, 1,000 dirhams gets you 4 crore. That's not 10 crore, but it's a respectable retirement. Your money has quadrupled. 35, you would have 2.36 crores. Not enough for a full retirement, but a solid base. You'd need other income sources or increasing your income. Think of it as a strong supporting actor, not the lead role. At 45, you would have 1 crore. This is supplementary money, not full retirement corpus, but it's still better than nothing. At 55, you would only have 37 lakhs. Honestly, this barely moves the needle. Not enough to retire on, but again, better than zero in your savings account. If you invested 3,500 dirhams a month, at 25, you exceeded the 10 crore goal. You've now hit 14 crores. This is upper middle class retirement, even in the metro cities. You've won the game. At 35, you would have 8.27 crore, very close to the 10 crore target. With a few adjustments or slightly increase in contributions, or maybe your CAGR is actually more than 8%, you can easily hit that 10 crore target. If you're 45 and you're investing that 3,500, you will end up with 3.82 crores. This is a decent supplementary corpus, not enough alone, but combined with EPF, gratuity and other savings, you might hit 6 to 7 crores total. If you're starting at 55, you would have 1.3 crores, better than 1,000 dirhams a month, but still not enough for a full retirement. This would cover maybe 5 to 7 years of expenses. If you invest 10,000 dirhams every single month, if a 25-year-old saved 10,000 dirhams every single month until retirement, they would have 40 crores. You're not just financially independent, you're wealthy. You could retire at 50 if you wanted. You can support your kids' education, buy property, travel the world. This is never worry about money again territory. This is your friends asking you for financial advice money. This is casually mentioning you're thinking about buying a second property during your retirement money. This is the dream. If you started at 35 with 10,000 a month, you would end up with 23.6 crores for your retirement, more than double the goal. You've basically secured a luxury retirement. You've hit the goal and have a massive buffer for inflation, emergencies, and helping your family and others. If you started at 45, you would have 10.9 crores. You got to the goal despite starting late because you're putting in serious money. But notice you invested 2.4 million dirhams to get to 4.8 million. That's only a 2x return versus the 25-year-old's 3.7x return. At 55, you would have 3.7 crores despite investing only 10,000 dirhams a month. You got only 3.7 crores because compound interest had no time to work. You invested 1.2 million dirhams and got 1.63 million dirhams. Here's what I want you to take away from this section. Notice how the 25-year-old investing 3,500 dirhams ends up with more money, 14 crores, than the 45-year-old investing 10,000 dirhams a month. That gets them to only 10.9 crores. The 25-year-old invests less per month, invests for longer, and ends up richer. That's compound interest. That's why I keep hammering this point like I'm building IKEA furniture without the manual. If you're 25 to 30 watching this, you have a superpower called time. Don't waste it thinking I'll start when I make more money. Start with 1,000 dirhams if that's all you have. The future you will thank the present you. Actually, future you will want to travel back in time and hug present you. If you are 40 to 50, you don't have the luxury of time. So you need to compensate with amount. That's just reality. No sugarcoating here. Okay, I've thrown a lot of numbers at you, but everything I've shown assumes 8% CAGR, 6% inflation, and a retirement age of 65. But what if I'm wrong? Let's stress test these assumptions. What if returns are lower? I'm using 8% because that's historically conservative for a globally diversified equity portfolio. The S&P 500 has returned 10% annually over the past 50 years. Global markets average 5 to 9%. But let's say the next 20 to 30 years suck. What if you get only 6% average returns? Here's how much more you would need per month. So yeah, if markets disappoint, you'll need about 30 to 35% more monthly investment. But here's the thing, if you're young, you have time to adjust. If returns are low for the first 10 years, you can increase your contributions in the next 10 to 20 years. That's the benefit of a long runway. If you're older, between 45 to 55, lower returns hurt more because you can't adjust much. My take, 8% is more than reasonable, not aggressive. It's in fact quite conservative. But build with a buffer. If you think you need 5,000 dirhams a month, try to do 5,500 or 5,600. If you get a bonus, put that into your investment. That extra 10 to 20% is your insurance policy. Here's what keeps me up at night. Inflation. Is 10 crore in 2045 or 2055 even going to be enough? Let's look at purchasing power erosion. If you're 25 today and retire in 2065 with 10 crores, that's equivalent to having 1 crore in today's money. 1 crore. That's not wealthy. That's not even comfortable. That's barely scraping by. That's eating at home because restaurants are too expensive money. That's no beta, I can't contribute to your wedding money. So are we screwed? No. But you need to understand this. The good news is your investments also grow with inflation. If inflation is 6%, stock market returns are typically inflation plus 3 to 4%. You will have 9 to 10% nominal, not 8%. So your investment keep pace. If you're 25, you should probably target 15 to 20 crores nominal, which will be worth 3 to 4 crores in real terms. That's comfortable retirement. If you're 35, target 12 to 15 crores, not 10 crores. That would again be worth 3 to 4 crores in today's money. Still achievable. If you're 45, your 10 crore target will be worth 3.1 crores real. That's actually decent. Less erosion because less time. If you're 55, your 10 crores will be worth 5.6 crores real. This is why starting late isn't all bad. Even though you're making less money from compounding, you're also losing less money to inflation. But just remember that you're also going to be contributing way more from pocket. The solution is invest in assets that grow with inflation. Equities, real estate, even gold, but not something like fixed deposits. These don't grow with inflation. Plan to work longer if needed. Be flexible with retirement allocation. Don't panic. Inflation is priced into historical returns already. Yes, 10 crore in 40 years won't be what 10 crore is today. But if you're investing in equities, which I hope you are after watching my portfolio video, your returns will compound ahead of inflation. The real enemy isn't inflation. It's not investing at all and not starting today if you haven't already started. Okay, so now you know how much to invest, but where do you actually put it? I recommend you watch my previous video where I explained to you how to create your portfolio. I start from if you have debt and take it all the way to where to actually invest in terms of platform so that you can make a educated decision for yourself. But really quickly, let's look at how you should plan for those investments. If you're aged 25 to 35, that would be the aggressive phase. Look at an allocation of between 10 to 15% in cash or bonds and 85 to 90% in equities. If you're 35 to 45, this would be the balanced phase. Have 75 to 80% in equities and 20 to 25% in cash or bonds. If you're 45 to 55, then I would recommend a 60 to 70% equity allocation and 30 to 40% in cash or bonds. If you're between 55 to 65, this would be the capital preservation phase. I would allocate only 45 to 55% to equities and 45 to 55% to cash or bonds. And after 65, I would keep under 40% in equities and the rest in cash or bonds or any other form of fixed income. I've shown you the math. I've shown you the strategies, but here is what actually stops people from hitting their goals. It's not market crashes. It's not inflation. It's not bad luck. It is behavior. Let me show you the dream killers. Number one, lifestyle inflation. If you get a raise from 12,000 to 18,000 dirhams, that's 6,000 extra per month. What do most people do? Upgrade their apartment, upgrade their car, and eat out more often or at more expensive restaurants. Your trips get more frequent and more luxurious, new clothes, fancier brands, and so on. The result is that you're still saving the same 2,500 just at a higher income. Here's what you should do. Keep the expenses at a similar level. That is until you can afford the investments that you're targeting. Over and above that, whatever extra income that you have, feel free to spend it. In fact, if your income goes up significantly enough, you can start contributing more than your targeted amount towards your investment so that you can get to your goals faster, or it can also increase the amount that you have at retirement. The second dream killer is I'll start next month syndrome. I'll start investing after I buy this car. I'll start investing after my wedding. It's a never ending I'll start later. Let me show you the actual cost of delay. Cost of delaying by just 1 year is massive. The cost of delaying by 5 years is even more unbelievable. We fail to understand the true power of compounding is time. Every month you delay is money you're losing at retirement. The fix, start with something, even if it's just 500 dirhams, even if it's just 100 dirhams, even if it is not enough. Just build the habit first. Scale up later. The third dream killer is panic selling during crashes. March 2020, markets crashed 35%. I know people who sold everything at the bottom, locked in 35% loss. Stopped their monthly investments out of fear. Moved everything into safe fixed deposits earning 2% per annum. You know what happened next? Markets fully recovered within the next 8 months. By the end of 2020, markets were up from pre-crash levels. The people who sold, they missed the recovery. They locked in permanent losses. The people who kept investing during the crash, they bought at a 35% discount. They are massively ahead. markets will crash again. 2025, 2028, 2032, I don't know when, but it will happen. Your job is to keep investing. In fact, increase investing during crashes if you can. This is why I hold such a huge cash pot in my portfolio allocation. Again, check out that video if you haven't already. The dream killer number 4 is not increasing contributions with income growth. Most people who set up the 2,500 per month investment at age 25 will continue to invest only 2,500 until retirement. Meanwhile, the salary went from 10,000 to 25,000 to 80,000. Why this is a problem? Your investment isn't keeping up with your own income growth. Inflation is eroding the real value of 2,500. Yes, you will still get to the 10 crore target, but if you had increased it step by step, not by a massive margin, I'm not asking you to stop living your life. Live your life, but increase it step by step so that your 10 crore goal is now a 20 crore goal or a 25 crore goal. The more you have is not going to hurt you. It's going to give you more peace of mind. Because remember, inflation. 25 crores might seem like a lot of money today, but it will not be a lot of money in 40 years' time. It will be a decent sum of money, but keep that at the back of your mind. What I'd recommend, do an annual review. Every year, increase your investment, see where you are, see where you need to get to, and you'll be good to go. This is called progressive investing. You don't just meet your goals, you beat it. Dream killer number 5 is life events without planning. Things like a wedding, things like an emergency medical expense, things like floods or any other natural disaster. Anything can happen and can cost you a lot, putting a dent in your planned monthly investments. This is also the reason you step up, because in such cases, when you cannot meet what you need to invest, you've already made up for it in the past. The harsh truth is only about 5 to 10% of people who start investing actually stay consistent for 20 to 30 years. Most people start strong, life happens, they stop, they restart, they stop again, they panic sell during crashes, they upgrade lifestyle ahead of investment. Don't be average, be boring, be consistent, be disciplined. That's how you win. All right, no more theory. I've given you all the theory I can. Now here's your action plan. If you watched for this long, that's great, but you need to put it into action. Step 1, calculate your exact number. Step 2, audit your current situation. Where are you right now? Where do you need to get to? And what do you need to do to get there? Step 3, pick your strategy. What are you going to do to get there? Step 4, open an investment account if you don't have one already. Again, I refer you back to my previous videos. I'll link them down in the description as well as at the end cards. Step 5, make your first investment. Do not delay this. I don't care what the value of the investment is. Just do it. It'll get you into that habit. It'll get you into that feeling of having invested. It will just make you feel good. You don't have to wait ages to save up $10,000 to make your first investment. Just do it with what you have today. Set a reminder on your phone for every year on the same date. It can be 1st of January, it can be 30th of June, it can be your birthday, it doesn't matter. Review where you are, your current position every year going forward. Here's what I'll leave you with. If you're 25 and you do nothing after watching this video, you close this tab, you think interesting, you move on to watching cat videos, and you move on with your life. You're choosing to be that 45-year-old who needs 11,000 a month instead of one who needs 2,500 a month. That's not bad luck. That's not unfair. That's a choice, and it's your choice. You're choosing today to make life harder for you for the future. If you're 35 and you ignore this, you're choosing to be the 55-year-old who can't retire. If you're 45 and you ignore this, you're choosing to work till you physically can't anymore. The math doesn't care about your excuses. Compound interest doesn't care that you were busy. Time doesn't wait. But here's the good news. You watch this entire video. That means you care, you're taking it seriously. So don't let this be just another YouTube video you watched and forgot. Do something about it. Please. Also, if you are over 55, do not think that it's over for you. You too can start today and have a comfortable retirement. Don't be discouraged by the numbers. As I have said this entire video, time is everything. Time in the market is everything. Timing the market is not required. Look, I get it. This was a lot of math, a lot of numbers, maybe even a little scary. But here's what I want you to remember. The difference between retiring comfortably and retiring broke isn't genius or luck or being born rich. It's literally just two things: starting early, staying consistent, and that's it. That's the whole secret. Whatever your age, wherever you are in life, financially and personally, the best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. Don't be the person at 65 saying, I wish I had started when I was your age. Be the person at 65 saying, I'm so glad I started when I did. Click here to check out my personal portfolio allocation, or click here to learn how to build your own. I highly recommend that you watch both. Yalla Arbab, now you go boss your money. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.